Hello, hello, hello. It's Julie Creffield, the No Bullshit Life Coach and CEO of the Fat Girl's Guide to Running. It's Friday night here in the UK, and I'm just going to take a few moments, maybe 20 minutes or so, to share some of my learning from the recent convention that I went to, the Lisa Nichols Speak and Write to Make Millions convention over in San Diego. Now, I'm not sure if anybody will join me live. Oh, there's a couple of people, because it is Friday night. But I just want to kind of, while it's all fresh in my head, really kind of just share what an incredible experience I've had, and to try and kind of summarize some of the key learning points, not just for me, but hopefully for those of you that follow what I'm doing and my speaker friends and anybody out there running businesses, because so much of it was so juicy. And obviously I'm not going to share everything with you that happened, because it would be impossible to do that. You have to kind of be there and experience it to get the kind of full value from it. But I think what I'd like to do is share 5 kind of key things that I think have been really kind of poignant for me and my work. I'd like to say hello to anybody joining me from Speak and Write, so any of my kind of fellow attendees who are now friends with me on Facebook, and also to any of my ladies from my coaching program. So hello and good evening. So I'm gonna, if you want to feedback anything that you kind of agree with, let me know. Any questions you have, they're not currently showing up on my feed, but they may well do. You know how technology works sometimes. And I'd also love to see who is on the call, so let us know whereabouts in the world you're calling in from. This is not going to be a perfect video. Nothing I do is perfect, and I'm going to explain a little bit later on in terms of how Lisa and I are similar with that regard. So, breathe, Julie. I'm going to kick off with my reason for going all the way to San Diego to see Lisa Nichols. So I have known about Lisa Nichols for a while, a good few years, maybe 2 or 3 years. I came across her first when I read the book The Secret, and you know, I knew who she was. I'd seen a couple of her YouTube videos, and I didn't, you know, I knew she was good. I knew she was a great speaker, but I didn't connect with her initially. I didn't really feel like we had much in common, because the speaking industry is very, very different in the UK. And then I think it was just before Christmas or just after Christmas, I downloaded her audiobook, Abundance Now, and I listen to heaps of books when I'm out running, when I'm training for my marathons. So it wasn't like I targeted her specifically, but I am interested in females that write about wealth, because I think there are heaps of books out there for men, and they're good too, but sometimes as a woman you want to hear it from other women. So I downloaded her book, didn't have any expectations, and literally about 20 minutes into the book, hi Kate, about 20 minutes into the book, I was like, oh my God. I had a number of feelings. First of all, I was like, shit man, a lot of what she talks about, I talk about. And you know, you get that fear as a coach that, oh my God, you know, am I copying from her? Like, you know, all of this stuff. But I know that no ideas are new, and, you know, all they're doing is being kind of regurgitated in new kind of formats. You know, so I'm, you know, I know enough to know that not to worry about that, but it still kind of, you know, triggered me a little bit. And also I was a bit like, and this is going to sound really bizarre, I was a bit like, oh my God, her story's my story, which is ridiculous because we are so different. You know, she's an American, African-American, black woman. She is, you know, very different in her speaking style, very kind of, you know, from the outwardly looking, you would say very religious, quite evangelical. You know, she's a multi-millionaire. I'm clearly not. But there was something in her story about being a single parent and the struggles of that, and wanting to create a better life for your child, that really struck a chord with me. And literally within the space of a few days, I'd kind of researched her online. I just wanted to kind of get a little bit closer to her. I wanted to kind of get under the skin of her business, because, you know, my business, the Too Fat to Run business, and my life coaching business is all about scale. It's all about doing things on a massive scale. I want to get to as many overweight women in the world to show them that they're good enough just as they are. You know, that is my purpose. And to me, it seemed like Lisa had found, you know, a platform, a kind of way of get into the masses. I mean, her business, her company name is Motivating the Masses. So I knew there had to be some kind of lessons there for me and my business. So I kind of, you know, wanted to see, I wanted to know more. I wanted to know how I could work with her. And she had an online program, which was, I think it was called Speak for Profit or something like that. So I signed up to her program. Very affordable. It was a couple of £100. And it was all done kind of via video and email, much like my courses are done, with a closed Facebook group. And, I started digging into the content, and it really kind of resonated me, really helped me to get clear on the type of speaker that I was. But there was still this niggling thing in my head where I was like, yeah, I'm getting the content, I'm getting the good stuff, but I want to see her. I want to be at one of her live events. So I was like, right, just let me have a little Google, see where she's speaking next. And so I saw that she does an event called Speak and Write to Make Millions. And I'm not going to lie, when I saw that title, I was like, oh my God, that's so American. Because us Brits we're never that kind of out there when it comes to money. So I was a bit like, not embarrassed, but I was a bit kind of triggered by the title. I was like, oh yeah. But then a few weeks into the online program, I was told that by being part of the online program, you got a free ticket to her convention. So now I'm starting to get excited. I'm starting to think, is it possible for me to get out there? And for me, it was all about the money. It was all about, can I get out there super cheap, and can I get childcare? I mean, those are always the two kind of factors. And I managed to get flights for under £500 return, which is pretty cheap to the States. And I managed to get an Airbnb really, really cheap. And as luck would have it, the convention fell on a bank holiday, which made childcare a lot easier for me. So before I knew it, I had talked myself into flying to San Diego by myself to go and see Lisa Nichols. Now, it seems maybe to an outsider like a bit of a crazy thing to do, but I'm a real believer, and a lot of my business, the running stuff, has come from this premise. It's really difficult to do something that you can't see, that you haven't seen someone else do, that you haven't seen somebody in the flesh do. And I know in the early days of the work that I do with running, a lot of overweight women were like, I don't ever see any overweight women running. So I feel like I'm alone, like I'm the only person out there. And that is how my blog, The Fat Girl's Guide to Running, came about. It was literally, I don't see anybody like me out there running. I'm going to start writing about these things and see if there is anybody else out there like me. So from a speaking perspective, we have some fantastic speakers in the UK, some fantastic female speakers, but I'm not sure that I can instantly think of a speaker at Lisa's level impacting the numbers that she's impacting, in the style that she is, on that kind of personal development front. So it was difficult for me to find a role model in the UK for me to kind of not copy or imitate, but to kind of emulate, to kind of be a bit like, well, that's how she does it. I want to be at that level, but do it my own way, if that makes sense. So those were the reasons that I went. And, I flipped between being hugely excited about this and knowing that it was going to resonate with me, and then being really worried about it being too American, too to the black audience, because I know her events are predominantly black events. So I had a few concerns about whether it would not feel right, whether I'd feel a little bit like an outsider. Those were my fears. But actually, the event was everything I hoped it would be, plus much, much more. And, I have come back to the UK absolutely buzzing from my experience. It was an incredible few days, and I've learnt so much about myself and about kind of where I want to go with my business. So I am going to share with you my 5 biggest learning moments from the convention, and some of them are kind of direct things that Lisa or her team said, and others are kind of more general things that I've just kind of observed through kind of watching the production as it is. So I'm just going to jump straight into them, and hopefully some of it will resonate. If it does, give me a kind of thumbs up or a heart or some kind of comment, so that I know that I'm not just speaking to myself. And I do know lots of people will watch this on the catch up, so don't worry if you're not watching it live. So, number 1, Lisa is just unapologetically herself. From the moment she walked onto that stage, she was being authentically her, and what I loved about it, she was in her element. When you see somebody that is completely in their zone of genius, I was observing her, not just in terms of what she was saying. I wasn't there as a kind of a spectator. I wasn't there as a consumer. I was there as a kind of researcher. I wanted to see how she did how she does what she does, if that makes sense. And she was completely at ease in her own skin. She spoke the way she wanted to, she dressed the way she wanted to, she moved around the stage the way she wanted to. And I think, you know, her love of music and, you know, the whole event was like a concert, you know. And I think at one point she said that she can't sing, but it didn't stop her from, you know, absolutely performing and having a blast on the stage. And I guess when you get to that level, surely that's the goal, isn't it? The goal is to be able to be completely yourself and to live out your dreams, you know, and to have an audience that kind of responds to you and, you know, is congratulating you for being 100% yourself. Surely that's what we all want, you know, in whatever kind of life we are doing. You know, it doesn't have to be the speaking world. We just want to be ourselves, right? And I think there was another speaker, Matt Gill, who in one of the breakouts was talking about, you know, his desires as a child. And he talks about kind of growing up in Los Angeles and using in his house, using kind of, you know, like the garage doors, using the garage doors as his kind of stage. And he'd go out and he'd use like a hose pipe or whatever he could get, you know, to do these little shows. And he would put on a show and have no audience. And now he's just been promoted to creative director, I think, for Motivating the Masses. You know, a guy that is absolutely living out his dream. And he posed the question in one of his breakouts around, you know, what did you want to be when you were a child? And I write about this a lot and speak about this a lot. You know, I actually knew what I wanted to be when I was 8. I wanted to write, I wanted to be heard, and I wanted to be on stage. I didn't know that such a job like being a life coach or a motivational speaker existed, but at my core, I knew the things that I was great at. You couldn't get me to shut up. I was a massive show off, and I cared greatly about the world. That was me at aged 8. But why is it that between the ages of 8 and say, I don't know, 30, I kind of lost my sense of me, you know, and I wasn't encouraged to utilize those skills and those talents, you know, to kind of pursue a career, you know, earlier on in my career, you know, in terms of the things that really kind of lit me up. So yeah, being unapologetically, God, that's a word, unapologetically you. And I've noticed in my business, the more I'm me, the more people get me and the more people want to support me and buy my programs and really kind of buy into the movement that I'm kind of leading. So be yourself and don't make apologies for yourself. So number two is invest in yourself. Now, when I first started my business, I didn't have any money to invest in myself. So it's a really kind of chicken and egg thing. You know you need support, you know you need a coach, you know you need to do training, you know you have to kind of read books. You have to put the effort in, and it's not just effort, but I really feel like you have to invest financially in your growth, in your personal development, in your training, because there's so much free stuff out there. You know, you just need to go on YouTube, you just need to go on the internet to find resources to help you on your way. But the moment you put money down on a program, it's a different ball game. And I think the fact that I'd invested, you know, probably about £1,000 to go to San Diego, it meant that I took it completely seriously. You know, I didn't drink while I was away. I got good sleep. I looked after myself. I was in the room 100%. I wanted to maximize that opportunity completely. And it's the same when I've paid for conferences or paid for online programs. The higher the price, the more I take it seriously and the more I see it as an investment in myself. You know, and Lisa said something around, you know, she doesn't win when somebody pays for one of her programs. She wins when somebody has the transformation. And that is absolutely the same as me. You know, I'm selling a course at the moment, my Living a Bigger Life course, and the early bird price finishes this evening. But, you know, I won't be this evening congratulating myself and going, woohoo, I've got 20 women on my course, because the hard work starts tomorrow, and I will only be celebrating those women once they've achieved the goals that they've set for themselves, because I'm only as good as the results that they get. So, you know, I think we feel a bit icky about money, and we feel a bit icky about investing in programs, because we're a bit like, God, that's a lot of money, you know. But then deep down, are we resistant to spending that money because deep down we don't believe that we're worthy, or we don't believe we'll put in the work, or we don't believe we can get the results that that coach says? So I think every time you get triggered by an amount of money that a coach is looking for, or a program or a university course or whatever it is that's going to take you to that next level, if you get triggered by it, rather than saying it's too expensive, I can't afford it, it's doesn't represent good value for money, all of those things, those excuses that you might use, look inwardly and go, is that true, or is this a bullshit excuse? Is this me being scared of investing in myself and taking a risk on myself? So that was number 2. Number 3 kind of ties on to this, particularly if you are a freelancer or a speaker or a coach or running your own business. Charge your worth. You owe it not only to yourself but to your clients. If you are having to run around like a headless chicken trying to find enough clients at the price point that feels okay for them and okay for you, and it means that you can't invest in yourself, you can't invest in your business, you never have the time to kind of de-stress and offload, then you're not helping anybody. And I've had real experience of this. For the longest time I was doing programs that were very, very cheap. I used to say affordable. No, they were cheap. You know, I'm talking like £10 programs, £10, £12.50 programs, and I would have to get 200 women or so onto that program to make it worth my while financially. Now, in the early days, I thought I was doing something quite noble, and I was thinking, yeah, you know, keep it cheap, sell to the many, and I'll get big results. And to a certain extent, I did. But the problem with throwaway money is people don't see it as an investment. If you're paying a tenner for a program or 20 quid and you don't complete it, it's not the end of the world. It's like a round of drinks, less than that. When you're putting £100 down, 200, 500, £1,000, you are going to show up. You are going to show up and you're going to do the work. And that there is an exchange. Money is about an exchange of value. And if you are not valuing the person and their expertise, then you're not valuing yourself. So have a think about kind of where you are energetically with money. What are you happy to spend money on? What are you not happy to spend money on? When it comes to your own fees and what you charge, have a listen to the voices in your head that say, I'm not worth it, I'm not worth it. Because the minute you charge properly is the minute you kind of up level and you start to believe in your own abilities. And I am absolutely going to be leading by example in this, and I am no longer going to be doing cheap programs. I'm just not. Okay, number 4, and I love this one, this is so me, is about imperfect action. So often we go to conferences or events, or we read books, we read self-help books or self-development books, and we love the concept, we buy into it with our hearts and our minds, and we go, yeah, you know, that's really inspired me, that's really motivated me. And then we stop at the point of action, because the action is the scary bit, isn't it? It's that moment where you have to pick up the phone, or you have to email somebody and ask for help, or you have to press submit on a blog post. You know, those things that are going to get you to the next step are not going on in your head or in your heart or in your planning. You know, that thing we love to do where we sit and plan for hours and hours on end about how great our business is going to be, rather than actually doing the work. Imperfect action is going to move you forward faster than sitting there and waiting for things to be perfect. And a perfect example of this is, for the longest time, I resisted doing videos. I resisted doing videos like this, like Facebook Lives, and I resisted having a good YouTube channel because I thought it had to be perfect. I thought I had to have a beautiful home, because, you know, you see all these coaches online that have, you know, Marie Forleo and all of these kind of people that have these beautiful backdrops and they're, you know, swimming pools in the background. You know, I live in a 2-bedroom flat in East London, you know. My flat is not, you know, minimalist and slick. You know, I've got a 5-year-old, for goodness sake. So I'd used all of these things as an excuse for not doing videos. But actually, when you tune into a video, do you really care what's going on behind this screen? No, because you're tuning in to listen to me, and you're tuning in to listen to my wisdom and, you know, all of the things that you're tuning in for. And actually, what you can't see behind here is actually, this is just, it's just a sheet of material, and I've got a decent light, and, you know, through that I can speak to the world. I can inspire women all over the world, you know, by using my iPhone, a snazzy backdrop and a bit of lighting. You know, I haven't even put on any decent clothes or makeup. I am here as myself because I want people to buy into me that are buying into me and not buying into the hype. So next time, thank you. It's so pretty. It is, isn't it? It's really me because these bold, bright colours are really me. So next time you start thinking about moving forward with a project in your life or with a new exercise regime or anything it is that you're working towards your goal, the minute you start coming up against these things where you go, oh yeah, but I'd like it to be this way, or yeah, but I haven't got that yet, and this has got to happen before that, that's resistance. It's resistance to you doing the work, and it's a resistance to either the idea of failure or the idea of success, because the quicker you move through the steps for your business or for your life, whatever it is you're trying to kind of reach, the sooner you're going to get to your goal. And that can feel scary because, you know, human beings like being in their comfort zone, and it's comfortable to be going, oh, my life's hard, you know, I'll never be rich, I'll never be successful, you know, I'll only ever be in this job, I'll always be fat. Whatever the thing is, you know, you're taking away your own power by waiting for things to be perfect. You know, at the conference we spoke a lot about writing books. I write books, it's what I do, and I write them imperfectly. And one of the reasons I write my books imperfectly is because the message is important now. Now, that's not to say I'm completely slapdash and don't have an editor and don't really give it my best shot, but am I completely bothered if there's a spelling mistake? No, I'm absolutely not, because I don't want to wait 3 years to get my best book out on the market if the world has then shifted on 3 years and the message is not kind of important anymore. So take the action, even if it is completely imperfect. And number 5, we're getting to the end of our list here. Number 5, I mean, this was the big one for me. This was the real big one for me, and it's difficult to describe it without being there. So those of you that were there will get where I'm coming from here. Lisa said we are not as divided as some would have us believe. Now, I don't want to go into the world politics or the politics of the US because I just don't understand it enough. And I am not completely that interested in world politics. I'm much more interested in the day-to-day politics of being a woman and, you know, kind of global stuff rather than country-specific party politics, all of that crap. Because it just sucks my energy. But what was interesting in that room was it was a room of 600 people with a live stream of 2,000 people from all over the world. All over the world. There was every ethnicity you could come across. There were men, there were women, there were young people, there were old people. The room was one of the most diverse rooms I had ever been in. Yet the sense of togetherness was incredible. It was kind of, sorry, my phone is ringing. See, imperfectness. I'll just let it ring. It's always like PPI or something like that. It's never actually anybody I know, so I'll just let it ring. But the room felt special. There was this magic. There's this absolute magic in the room. And there was, you know, we talk about kind of family and tribe and community, and we talk about it, often we're talking about it in a negative way, like it's a cult. And actually I've got some photos from with our hands up in the air, and it does feel a bit cult-like, you know, or a bit kind of like religious, like overly religious. But it wasn't about that. It was about this kind of shared core belief that we are more alike than we are different, and that we have all had our own experiences in life and had been brought together for whatever purpose in this time and moment to kind of witness the kind of message, the really powerful message that Lisa has for the world. And I think there was something so powerful in that, and which is really inspiring for kind of transformational coaches like myself, who have a real core belief that, you know, their message, their process, their programs can absolutely change the world. And it just felt really empowering to watch somebody on that level, on a global level, show us how that is done. And it just, I've come away from that feeling like I have such power to change the world. And that sounds, I know it sounds bonkers, and I'm kind of second guessing myself around how I might be judged for making such outlandish claims, but it's exactly how I feel. And you know, that sense of togetherness, I think ultimately what it comes down to, and I talk about this all the time in my coaching work, is ultimately as human beings, all we ever want is to be loved. We want to be loved and we want to be accepted for how we are. You know, we don't want to have to become clones. We don't want to have to become perfect, these perfect kind of ideas of who we should be. We just want to be ourselves and be accepted for whatever that is, flaws and all. You know, and that is what my work is about. That is what the work with 2 Factor Run is about. And it's the work that I'm doing with women around living a bigger life. So those are my 5 lessons, really. Be unapologetically you, invest in yourself, charge your worth, take imperfect action, and remember that remember that we are not as divided as we think we are. So I guess the crux of this is, how am I going to use the learning from this in my work as a life coach? Lots of thumbs up and hearts there. Glad that this is resonating with you guys. So, you know, I think what I've taken most from Lisa's conference is the idea that I can get to millions of people. The fact that she does live streams at her events blows my mind. 2,000 people spending the whole weekend at their computer screens so that they can engage in the content. That is powerful. You know, we come up with all these bullshit excuses around, oh, I've got to do small events. Start off small. You know, do your local church or do your local community centre or your local networking groups. Bullshit. We don't. We have these things called computers. We have these things called mobile phones. We have Facebook Lives. We have technology. We have YouTube channels that enable us to broadcast and to not only broadcast, but to start off debate and discussion. It's not even just a one-way thing. So we don't need to wait on permission to get on TV shows. We don't need to wait for permission to have books published. We can just do it ourselves. So, you know, that is me. I am going to be hitting these kind of really difficult, challenging themes around self-acceptance, about, you know, weight issues, obesity, health and happiness, mental health for women. So there are 3 things which I am committing to doing as we move forward. Some of you will know I'm doing a TEDx in June. So my TEDx is called Living a Bigger Life, and it's going to be all about the wasted time and energy that women spend on making themselves physically smaller, when instead they could be living kind of bigger, more adventurous, more exciting, purpose-filled lives. So that is what the TEDx is going to be about. I'm also committing to writing a book. You know, I write these books really, really quickly. I'm going to have a book out in time for the time that the TEDx comes out, and it's going to be on the same topic, living a bigger life. Then the other thing I'm going to do, obviously I'm still committing to my Living a Bigger Life coaching program. It's a 3-month program. It's a group program. We have women from all over the world take part. It's covers 10 topics. There's a workbook and coaching emails from me. It's very kind of interactive. We have live Zoom calls, much like what Lisa used for the live stream. The deadline for the early bird price is midnight tonight. So if you want to get involved, buy now or drop me an email. I'm going to be at my desk for the next couple of hours answering people's questions. But actually the price goes up at midnight, and then the deadline for signing up completely is next week, Friday, and we start on the 28th of May. I've already got a wonderful cohort of women ready to start, but there's definitely a few more places if you are interested. And my commitment to that program, that is the program that is changing people's lives. And actually I put some testimonies on the Fat Girl's Guide to Running page today, pulled directly from a survey which I did with the last lot of women. And my favourite quote on there is from a lady called Emma, and she says, I didn't know I wanted to change until I started changing, and now I don't want to stop. And that one just fills my heart, because it's just, you know, another lady says, this course changed my life. It is transformational. And actually Lisa has given me permission, or it feels that way, to talk about myself in these terms, to talk about myself as a transformational coach, because she outlined the 3 types of coaches that there are. There are motivational speakers and coaches, the ones that jump around and get you to physically take action. There are inspirational coaches and speakers, the ones that kind of really talk to your heart and kind of get you to change from the inside out in terms of shifting your views. And then there are transformational coaches, and transformational coaches are the ones that are there with you doing the work. They're the ones holding your hands. They're the ones kicking you up the backside when you're not doing the work. They're the ones that call you out on your bullshit, even if that makes them unpopular. And that is what I'm willing to do, because I want to see you change. I don't want to just take your money and have you on my program. I want to see you get the life that you deserve, you know. So, you know, my coaching program is only going to go from strength to strength. I truly, truly believe that. And then finally, one of the things that Lisa really kind of got me thinking about, and it's still not a formalized idea yet, but she was talking about, you know, the way her programs are funded. She does a program called Motivating the Teen Spirit, and it's about kind of young people that are kind of struggling either in families or schools, or, you know, having some kind of issue where they need to kind of develop their self-esteem and, you know, get support. And that program is how she built her business. That was the kind of the key program that she started off with. And now the way it works is that families that can afford it pay for it, and families that can't afford it have it paid for them from, you know, the people that go to Lisa's conferences and absolutely buy into her program. So it's got me thinking about, how do I work with the women in my community? You know, I've got 50,000 followers on social media, 22,500 followers on a Facebook page. You know, women that really, really buy into my work, but don't always buy in financially. So lots of women that kind of email me and say, Julie, I love what you're doing. I would love to do your program. It would change my life. I just cannot afford it. You know, and I know within that there is some bullshit going on. I know that sometimes we spend £100 on a pair of trainers, but we don't want to spend £100 on a, you know, coaching program. And I get that. We all have our choices. We all have our priorities. But it has got me thinking about how I make the life coaching part of my work more affordable. And I am going to commit to a much more affordable program a little bit later on in the year. One which is probably more about health and happiness and small incremental changes, rather than this idea of adventure and doing things on a big scale, because not everybody is ready to take that big leap and to do something kind of life-changing. Many of us, many of the women that I work with, they're just kind of trying to get on with the day-to-day and trying to kind of find really small ways of prioritizing themselves, making themselves feel a bit happier and a bit healthier. So watch this space for my more affordable program, which really nobody should have an excuse not to take part in. So I'm going to finish up. Thank you everybody for joining me live. I've really enjoyed kind of sharing my thoughts. Obviously there was lots more that I could share with you, and I probably will do some more kind of updates as the kind of thoughts kind of clarify in my brain. But one of the most beneficial things that I did as part of the conference was, Lisa has this thing called SNAP, and I can't remember, it's an acronym, but she gets you to kind of snap like that. And it's about how you introduce yourself. She said it's, you know, the equivalent of the elevator pitch, but of course the elevator pitch is old and done. So it's a much kind of fresher way of doing a pitch. And so she got us to write our pitch, and then throughout the weekend we had to practice it. And there was a fantastic session where it was like a speed dating, run around the room, shouting your pitch out, and people handing you their business cards. And for the first time, I've started to, it's not perfect, it's by no means perfect or finished, and I can't remember it word for word, but I've started to really clarify what it is that I do. So I thought I would finish this video off with a practice of my snap, okay? Now bear with me, I'm really nervous now because I've hyped it up and it may not be that great. So, here we go. My name is Julie Creffield, and I am a plus-size athlete and transformational life coach. As a result of working with me, overweight women who have been playing small find clarity and the courage and the sense of adventure needed to start achieving the big fat stupid goals that until now they've been putting off until they lose their weight. I'm looking for women to join my transformational life coaching programs so they can be more visible, more vocal, and more present, so that they can finally find freedom and peace. Who do you know who might need this? Sorry, it wasn't completely slick, but I don't know. What do you think? Would you, if I was meeting you in a networking event, would you understand what it is I do? Would you be curious? Would you be thinking, oh yeah, my friend would love something like that? Lots of hearts and lots of thumbs up. Thank you so much. So I've not really been able to see. Hi Jodie, one of my life coaching ladies all the way from the States. Love Jodie. She always jumps in and gets involved, even though the time differences aren't always perfect. Mwah. Love to you, Jodie. Yeah, if you've got any questions, I'm happy to stay on the call for a little while. As I said, I'm going to be at my desk for the next couple of hours, so feel free to drop me an email if you've got any questions about my programs. Tolu says, pitch has clarity. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Need to rehearse it a few times. I haven't completely got the confidence down, but I'm so much better than what I was before the convention. I've really kind of started to embrace both sides of what I do, the running stuff, the plus size fitness stuff, and the life coaching. Joe says, love the snap. Yeah. I'm trying to remind myself to keep it snappy and to not waffle and not to be about me, because it's not. It's about kind of how I can help people. So as I said, if you want to get in touch, it's julie@juliecreffield.com. I'm going to, once this video has embedded itself into Facebook, I'll probably put it onto my YouTube channel. So if anybody wants to catch this on the replay, feel free to kind of check out my YouTube channel. And I'd love any comments you have on any of the things that I've spoken about this evening. So I'm going to let you all go. It's Friday night here in the UK. And I haven't got jet lag, which is so unusual for me. I normally really struggle to get back into a routine, but I've had 2 really good nights sleep. I'm raring to go. I'm off to another speaking event tomorrow, the London Professional Speakers Association, where I can't wait to kind of share some of the stuff that I learned at Lisa's convention. Kate says, fab stuff, Julie. Can't wait for the next batch of ladies joining us. Kate is a perfect example of somebody who has absolutely jumped into the programme, and the programme is a lifelong programme. You pay once, you get to do it over and over again. And Kate's been brilliant. Each and every time she's done it, she's, really pushed herself, and really kind of, embedded herself into the programme in terms of supporting other women as well. So lots of love to you too, Kate. Right, I'm going to go. It's been lovely catching up with you, and do connect with me. Send me an email, drop me a line. Don't be a stranger. All right, ciao.